Hey guys, how's it going? So, today's video is going to be really special because this is actually going to be the very first game review I've ever done on this channel. I can't tell you guys how excited I am to do this right now, but anyways, so the game that I've chosen for this very special occasion is none other than Wind and Water Puzzle Battles. Now, why did I select this game? Well, the reason is because it's actually one of the many independent Dreamcast games that's out there. And yes, that's absolutely right. Even after the Dreamcast discontinuation back in 2001, there are still many developers that are trying to make games for this awesome console. But anyway, so Wind and Water Puzzle Battles is one of the many independent Dreamcast games out there. It's the very first one that I ever bought. And I got a lot of interesting things to say about it. So without much further ado, let's start my review of Wind and Water Puzzle Battles for the Sega Dreamcast. Wind and Water Puzzle Battles was a game originally released by Works on the GP2X back in 2007. Now, what the GP2X essentially is basically like a handheld device that can like emulate older consoles and that kind of stuff, and it can also be used by like homebrew developers like Works. So obviously they decided to develop on this game for the GP2X first, and then actually a year later, on November 1st, 2008, they decided to port it to the Sega Dreamcast. So this is what the front cover of the game looks like, which is very gorgeous and colorful. And that's one thing that's really cool about these independent Dreamcast games. These are not made by some guy, with like his CDR writer and then prints these images out of like his home printer. No, these things are made in like factories and all that kind of stuff. And as a result, you can see that the artwork here is printed very nice and very sharp and crisp. So here's what the back cover of the game looks like, and you will notice that there's actually a lot of Japanese text to them. And the reason why is because Works, and this is a trend that a lot of independent Dreamcast games tend to follow. They tend to make their game cases a lot like the Japanese style artwork of the Japanese Dreamcast games and all that, and I got an example to show you. So here's my copy of Concept II, which is actually a pretty good game, by the way. It's a little bit difficult to understand because it's completely Japanese, but once you figure out the pattern, it turns out to be a pretty good game. But anyways, as you can see here, the back of these game cases are identical. And then if you actually look on the spine, they're identical too, because they have one side that has English text, and then the other side has their Japanese text and all that stuff. And the only difference in the spine is obviously one of them says Dragon Box Shop and the other one says Dreamcast. But anyway, so here's what the inside of the game case looks like. And so let's take a look at the manual first, because the manual is not just some like, they could have just simply made it like one sheet of paper that just basically represents the front cover. No, this is a fully detailed and colored manual, which is actually pretty cool because a lot of Dreamcast games did not have a lot of colored manuals. Most of them were in like black and white and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, as you can see here, there is basically one side that has Japanese text right here, and there's actually this little cool comic strip right here at the end of the Japanese side of the manual. I have no idea what these things are saying, so if any of you guys are like Japanese speakers or you can read Japanese, anything like that, please tell me in the comment section down below, because that would be pretty cool to know what that part says. But anyways, once you get past that comic strip, you then reach the English side of the instruction manual, and unfortunately you do not get that comic strip translated to English, but you do get the credits of the people that make this game, and also this little note that thanks you for playing, which is pretty cool. So here's what the disc looks like, and this disc is the perfect example of why I mean that these things are not made by CDR, because when you flip on the back, look at that, it is a CD-ROM disc. So it looks very nice and all that stuff. Now, I'm sure the elephant in the room is that the Dreamcast used GD-ROM discs and all that stuff, so why isn't this thing a GD-ROM disc? Well, the thing is that unfortunately Sega destroyed most of their pressing plans for GD-ROMs years ago, which is unfortunate. So what developers nowadays have to use is basically the MIL CD format, which is essentially how basically people pirate games on the Sega Dreamcast, which is kind of funny how developers managed to repurpose that format into basically making new Dreamcast games. But anyway, so yes, this game absolutely has a nice box art, but you want to know what also is amazing? The presentation of this game. Now, I know that people will say that obviously the game looks kind of pixelated and kind of old style, but you kind of have to understand, like these games aren't being made by like huge companies. These are made by like a couple, like maybe 2 people at best, like that work on these games in their own spare time. And obviously, so they obviously cannot pump out the best looking graphics ever on the Dreamcast. However, the presentation of this game is good. You already start off this game with this very cool intro cutscene that is very beautiful to look at. And then on top of that, when you get into the actual game, like there are these like cutscenes and all that stuff, and they have really nice illustrations of the main characters and all that. And on top of that, these characters, they draw them with so much emotion. It is freaking funny, and it also looks good to look at. And then when you actually get into the game, man oh man, all the tiles, all the sprite work and all that stuff, just the colors just pop and it looks very good. And speaking of the gameplay, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about next. So, as the name implies, Wind and Water Puzzle Battles is obviously a puzzle game. Now, this is not just some regular Tetris or Bejeweled clone. This thing is a totally unique and innovative puzzle game. So, in this game, you got a couple of different elements, or different tiles, as I should say. Wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Okay, so the goal of this game is to match up each respective element with each other into a diamond-like shape. Once you've done that, these tiles will clear and you will earn some points about it. Now here's the thing. What if you wanted to match up more tiles than 4? What you need to do is basically get all of these same color elements together without making a diamond formation in them. And then whenever you want them to, all these blocks to disappear, then you would flip these tiles into a diamond shape formation and then poof, they will all disappear. And the more of these elements that you like match up together and then you flip and make it into a diamond shape, the more points that you will actually earn from doing that. And I hope that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense when you're actually playing the game and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so yes, so in order to be able to form these kind of formations, you're given this diamond-shaped cursor, which you can move around with by pressing on the D-pad. And then once you got the cursor over the tiles that you want to like flip and all that, all you need to do in order to flip them is, if you want to flip these tiles in the clockwise direction, you press the B button. If you want to flip them in the counterclockwise direction, you press the A button. And that is all there is to it, to this game. It takes a little bit of time getting used to these mechanics, but once you get them down, it's very simple and is very intuitive and all that. This game actually has 4 different gameplay modes. Well, actually, technically it's 3, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so there are 4 different gameplay modes that you can play in this game. They are Story, Arcade, Puzzle, and Tutorial. I'm going to say Story for last and talk about Arcade first. Now, Arcade basically has 4 sub-modes inside of it. Endless, Time Battle, Versus Battle, and Practice. These all sound straightforward as they, sound. But one cool thing that you can do in the arcade mode is that I believe you are able to play as characters that you unlock in story mode. The thing is, one of the characters you don't actually need to unlock in the story mode and all that stuff. You got him right off the bat, but it is easily one of the freaking coolest characters I have ever seen. And that is Mr. VMU. That is right, you can actually play as a Sega Dreamcast VMU inside of this game, which is pretty freaking boss. But yeah, so yeah, on top of that awesomeness, this is also really the mode where you can basically, if you want to hitch up a second controller to your Sega Dreamcast and play this game, yes, the arcade mode is the perfect one for you to play with like another buddy and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. So the next one is Puzzle. This is really more like a challenge practice type of mode. They basically give you like these blocks that you only need to sort out in a couple of moves. If you don't do it, you fail. And believe me, when you're new to this game, you are going to fail a lot. But I think that's personally part of the fun because it makes it incredibly satisfying whenever you win one of these challenges and all that stuff. They don't feel cheap and all that. And also, you don't really want a game that basically, hands a victory to you on a silver platter. You want a game that gives you a little bit of challenge. This is the perfect one for you. And the puzzle mode is definitely the place where you definitely are going to get a lot of that because, I died so many times and all that, but it's really awesome whenever you do figure out to manage to solve the puzzle. But anyway, so the next mode that I'm going to be talking about is the tutorial mode, and this is the one where I was mentioning earlier. This is probably not a game mode, and I'll tell you why. So you see that in this tutorial screen, there's basically all these text and all that stuff. Selecting each one of them will basically let the game just tell you how to do this and all that kind of stuff. But the game basically does all the maneuvers that it's trying to teach you by itself. Yes, that's right. And I personally think that kind of sucks, to be honest, because, well, because honestly, when I'm trying to do a tutorial, I kind of would like to practice in there the type of thing you're trying to teach me and all that kind of stuff. The game doesn't allow you to do that, which kind of stinks, but oh well. But it is still worth it to go over the tutorial and all that stuff because it does teach you some of the advanced concepts of this game that you're going to need to do in order to basically master the next mode that I'm actually going to talk about, which is the story mode. So in the story mode of this game, you basically control as this girl protagonist character known as Amy. And she basically goes through you basically guide her through all of these series of challenges that this game imposes you along the way of your journey. And basically when you progress through the game, you eventually stumble upon other characters and all that. And one of the main characters that you stumble upon is Hal. Basically, the funny thing is, Hal is actually one of the main developers of this game. So it's pretty cool that they developed this whole storyline out of, basically the people that worked on this game, which is pretty funny. But anyway, so basically, apparently the game that they're making, Wind and Water Puzzle Battles, is full of bugs and stuff, and you need to find Yuan. And the only way to do that is to progress further in the game. Now, unfortunately, I wish I could tell you more about the story and all that stuff, but unfortunately, as I said before, I suck at this game. So basically, that is as far as the story as I got. I know, I wish I could tell you guys more about the story, but what I can tell you though is that the dialogue that is written in these game cutscenes is pretty funny. I absolutely do enjoy the writing in this game. And the thing is that there are actually some lines that the characters say that actually had me chuckling a little bit. I kid you not. But anyways, so yeah, so forgive me on the limited amount of knowledge I have about the storyline of this game, but I'm sure there's much more content to explore in this game. So with my limited knowledge about the storyline of this game, I'm going to try my best to explain the gameplay of what I experienced in the story mode so far. Basically, you have these buildings that Amy has to go through, and each one of these buildings has different challenges that you need to complete in order to solve them. They're pretty easy when you start, but as you go along down the path, they become a lot harder and all that. And some of them, I just spent hours just sitting there just trying to flip these blocks and all that stuff, but I just can't figure it out, which sucks. But anyways, whenever you complete one of these stages, you're actually given a ranking system. I believe it's from A to C. I'm not quite sure about that because the lowest score I ever got in this game was a C. But anyways, but yeah, once you're given these rankings, depending on how high your ranking is, you will be awarded more points. And these points can actually be used to purchase items from the shop. And I think there are a lot of cooler items down the road because so far what I got, the only item that you can really buy is basically a bigger money bag, which allows you to store more points and all that. But anyway, so yes, on top of this type of gameplay, there are actually mini-games that are scattered across the map as well. And there is one that I managed to play, which is very cool. There is actually this little mini game where you can play as this car thing, and your goal is to basically avoid the car from hitting the incoming traffic. And the way you do that is basically you either press left or right on the D-pad. Now, the very interesting thing about this mini game is that the music that plays during this mini game sounds a lot like the Hang On theme. And it's actually a pretty decent remix of the Hang On theme as well, and that is exactly what I want to get to next. The music in this game is good. There is a lot of memorable tunes that play while you're playing through this game, and none of them sound like out of place. They sound like something that you would want to listen to while you're playing a puzzle game. So yeah, they got like these very relaxing type of pieces. They're very soothing. And of course, you know, when you get to the car stage, obviously the Hang On theme suits it perfectly well, because you kind of want to hear tense music when you're trying to avoid incoming traffic. Yes, the gameplay music perfectly matches the atmosphere of the game. It is very well done. So yes, on top of the nice box art, on top of the nice presentation, nice gameplay, nice music, there is only one thing that I have to complain about in this game. It is really minor though. It has to deal with the buttons. So typically when you play a Sega Dreamcast game, A is usually the button to accept and B is to go back on. Believe it or not, this game has the buttons in reverse. B is to accept and A is to go backward. That is pretty freaking annoying, especially when you play this game for the first time, because like, you know, when you first play this game, you'd be going like, oh, I want to select this mode, and then you press the A button and it sends you straight back to the title screen. That's freaking annoying, and I did it a lot of times when I first played this game. However though, you do get used to it, and basically once you get used to it, it doesn't become a big problem anymore. So yeah, and it definitely does not detract from the main experience of this game. This game is too freaking good to let one little flaw like that ruin it. Yes, I'm sure you guys can tell already, I absolutely love this game. This game is very underrated for the Sega Dreamcast, and I'll tell you why. When this game first released back in 2008, it failed. It flopped. It did not sell as well as it should, which is incredibly disappointing. This is a very high quality product. It's very sad that it didn't do well back in the day, but you know what? There's actually some good news though. This game, you can still buy it brand new. In fact, if you go to the bitstation.com, I put the link to it in the description of this video, but actually if you buy it at the BitStation, you can get this game brand new in the shrink wrap for $12. Oh yes, and that's actually how I got this game too. So if you guys have a Sega Dreamcast and you're looking for a good foray into the independent Dreamcast scene, look no further than Wind and Water Puzzle Battles. This is an extremely good puzzle game, and it's very well worth your time. So, with the amazing box art, the amazing presentation, the amazing gameplay, the amazing music, I am going to award Wind and Water Puzzle Battles with the Sega GeneCast Golden Seal of Approval. Yes, this game absolutely deserves this score, and I would most definitely would recommend that you guys definitely try this game out. It's very well worth your time. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the first time I've ever done a game review on this channel. If there are like any areas that I can improve in my, you know, like reviewing of games and all that kind of stuff, please tell me in the comment section down below, and I'll be definitely more than happy to try to improve for the next time I do a game review. But anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the Sega GeneCast. My name is Michael, and may the dream be with you.